the wall is the hype. I only skip lower leg day. Very, very deliberate that they threw the war there. They hinted the same thing.
Yeah, it's difficult.
It comes back to why is there different punishments for the same thing? You take one of the most signature troops in Clash of Clans and you just have her stand on the sidelines. If a quarter of the teams are knocked out from losing, another quarter of them win and get disqualified for camera disconnect.
Yeah.
It's like, what's going on here? It's absolutely ridiculous. It's so easily preventable. Hello, my name is Eric. I'm addicted to Clash of Clans.
Oh no, I've managed to freeze you. I need to bring that screen up. There we go, I've got you. Sorry, it's because I'd minimized the window. Oh well, let's do that again. Hi Eric, welcome to the stream. Nothing bad happened there.
Yeah, nothing at all. I didn't see anything. It was perfectly flawless in my eyes.
Perfect, man. Thank you so much for coming on. It's awesome to have you on. One of like the I'm just going to blow a bit of smoke up just now. But yeah, one of the sort of like the powerhouses of Clash of Clans. One of like almost like the big five, if that makes sense. So I'm well chuffed, man. So it's awesome. Welcome on.
I appreciate being here. Thanks for inviting me. I was sitting there waiting around. I'm like, when is Matt going to invite me onto the show here? Everybody else gets to go on the show. Why don't I get to go on the show?
It's such a random thing because it's like, it's me. It doesn't make any sense. Why, like people are like, why are you not inviting me on the show? It's like, because you're huge. Like when Clash Bashing, when Rocky won, I was just like, really? And because he said, oh yeah, I'll come, like almost said it as a joke. And I was like, are you sure now? And he's like, yeah. Oh, okay, great. And so it's brilliant, man. So yeah, I still don't quite understand it, but thank you. So yeah. Guys, I'm going to miss loads of follows and subs and all that sort of stuff, but thank you so much for all that sort of stuff. Eric, we've got a whole load of questions. You've seen them all in advance. Got some interesting stuff. Obviously, the update dropped today. Worlds at the weekend was, as is standard for Worlds, a little bit controversial, which, we like. It gives us something to talk about. And but we'll start off with like almost like some easy ones just to settle you in. We've got the usual sort of regular questions and just nice gentle things to start off with. When did you start playing? That's a nice easy one to start us off.
Well, I started playing in 2012 and then kind of was super off and on with it. Like didn't really play it consistently. It wasn't until 2015 where I created my other account. That my main account, which is now my main account, and then that one started growing up, and then I had to recover my old account, and that's OG 333, my channel 13 now, and it's been consistent since 2015, on and off before then. So
and I'm going to throw the next one. Did that was that around about the time you went to? Was that when you joined OneHive, and that you started getting serious, or did you join OneHive before that?
No, I actually didn't join OneHive until end of 2018.
Wow. Okay.
Summer of 2018. Summer of 2018, I joined OneHive right after. It was like basically when Town Hall 11 was this kind of the game kind of got stagnant, and you had like Powerbang and Jake and all the OG content creators that were back with the first wave that went on to different games.
Yeah.
That at that time was playing like just casually in a little clan that has become a bigger clan now, Double Barrel.
Yeah.
And we put that clan on the map there after a little while, but back then it was just how do I explain that? Now I just completely brain farted the question.
No, it was just about like when did you go along with OneHive and all that? So
when I got into OneHive. Yeah, that's what I was going. Let's go with that.
I mean, it's fine. In the YouTube video, we'll cut that answer down. It'll be like nothing happened.
Yeah.
Definitely leaving it in. So, I've got
So I joined OneHive after. Yeah, I joined OneHive in 2018. I joined out of Double Barrel right after Town Hall 12 became into the game, and as soon as it came out, I quickly pushed my heroes up to the new max level right as quick as I could. And it was funny because right when Town Hall 12 released, I had just hit the max level of the game for the first time. I just hit max Town Hall 11, like the day that Town Hall 12 released, completely free to play. and I was able to push up and then join OneHive as soon as the day that my heroes hit max for Town Hall 12 at the time, and that's what started
Nice.
all that. So it was like I was free to play all the way up until then.
And then you've just turned into a gem and
Uh,
sort of
Well,
manure.
yeah, now I make a little money off of it. It's worth it.
And the amount of times I've seen you not use code Eric is brilliant as well. I love how many
Yeah,
times you
know.
forget to
I
use your own
know.
code. Anyway,
It's horrible.
sorry. So what's your favourite town hall? Because you've got a couple of different town hall levels. What's your favourite town hall at the moment?
I got a max 9 through a max 14, obviously. So, well, not max today. I got to go remax it, but we'll talk about that more in a bit. My favorite is still honestly Town Hall 12. It was my favorite back then. It was my favorite all the way through. It's still my favorite now. I enjoy Town Hall 13 and 14, but I also just enjoy the what now feels like simplicity, but used to feel like insanely impossible at Town Hall 12.
Yeah.
Back when hit rates were like 20 to 40%, not 60 to 80, whatever they are
Yeah,
nowadays.
Town Hall 12, there was a proper period in Town Hall 12 was really hard. And
Yeah.
even when
Getting
Town Hall
12 stars in
13
a
had
war
come
was enough to win a lot of them. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. What about favourite strategy then? What is your favourite strategy?
My favorite strategy of all times is, you could probably guess it. It's witches, but not the Zap Witch. The Zap Witch I think is a little bit dull. My favorite strategy of all time, and the ones that have my most memorable moments, when we just did crazy attacks at clutch moments in big tournaments, was Bat Slap. And I remember when Bat Slap came into the game at Town Hall 12, and
Yeah.
I can still make it work at Town Hall 13 and 14, but it's one of those strategies that I just wish we could push through a scatter shot and make it survive. Someday we'll get another level of witches that have more health and can survive through a scatter shot. And until then, we'll just sit on the sidelines out in the flanks of the base.
I love that as I asked that question, Hans has written down just his fave because he can spam witches. They're talking about Town Hall 12, so there you go. Witches, everyone knows that witches are your favourite strategy.
Bat Slap wasn't a spam strategy. Bat Slap was a very tactical strategy. Like, it wasn't just zap out the Infernos and just spray a side of the base there. That's what Town Hall, a lot of the lower Town Hall levels are nowadays. But back then you had to do it. It was very, very, very extremely difficult.
For me, it was the kind of the air spam of dragons and bats. That's what I loved about Town Hall 12, when suddenly dragons became viable again. They were sort of like, you left them at Town Hall 8, maybe 9, but really you were sort of like, you wanted something that was a bit more guaranteed, like hogs or something like that. And suddenly, with bats coming in, you had dragons were like, oh, I can use dragons again. This is amazing. It's just like, I loved it. So I love how people have like a certain troop that they love. I mean, Hog Rider's got the most character for me, but I've got a special place for dragons. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So I've got a question here. Where does your in-game name come from? Now this might be that's like the standard question. I don't know if you want to talk about your channel name, but even that might be a little bit of a simple story. But just tell us something about some sort of thought process that you went through in some sort of name. Go for it.
Hello, my name is Eric. I'm addicted to Clash of Clans. Did that sum it up?
Yeah. So the good old. So
I have a problem.
Yeah. I mean, I love the sort of the simplicity in your name, and so I went through a couple of them there. We had Eric from OneHive, and we had Clash with Eric. I mean, there's
interesting thing. If you go on to your YouTube and you switch it to incognito, so it doesn't have any of your cookies messing with the search algorithm. If you just search Eric on YouTube with no other context, it will actually pull up my channel first. I've overtaken all the other popular Erics. Eric Clapton's got nothing on me. Like, bring it.
Brilliant. I mean, I'm desperately thinking for other Erics. I'm glad that you gave me Eric Clapton there. That's good. I mean, he's not known for his YouTube content, to be fair to him, but
well, yeah,
I like that though, man. He's just like, it's my name, I'm going to own it.
Number one.
Go for it. Yeah, why not? I like that. Asking about OG Triple 3, his account name, Base Boss. Does that make sense to you, Eric? Ask him about OG Triple.
OG 333 is my Town Hall 13. That's my OG account. Okay. That's my original account from 2012.
The one that you
Oh,
is that the one that you lost and then you basically
that's the
managed
one that
to.
I lost and I had to recover. Yeah.
Cool. So how did you
Yep,
go
that's
about
the one.
naming that one?
Just the OG, you know, it's just the original account, the original gangster.
Oh, so did
You
you
know.
rename it? You just renamed it to that.
No, it's been that the whole time.
It's been that the whole
It's
time.
never
All right,
changed.
okay.
It's never
I
changed.
thought.
It still
I
has
thought.
its name change available. All of my accounts do. I've never renamed an account in my entire time playing Clash of Clans. They're all the original names.
Happy days, happy days. Okay, and then we kind of touched on this a little bit, but like, when and how did you get into content creation? I kind of feel
Uh,
that you were almost. Sorry, I'm talking over you. You're almost. I almost felt like you were quite a reluctant content creator, where like Jake left OneHive, and then everyone almost. It felt, maybe it wasn't this quick for you, but it felt like then everyone just sort of turned to you and was like, "Go on then, go." Is that what happened, or how did it How did it go?
Honestly, there's a lot of people who thought I was Jake from OneHive, and they never realized that I was a completely different person, which is kind of weird because you look back at the comment sections from them, they're like, I've been watching you since 2016. I'm like, I didn't start until 2018, so you were watching Jake. Sorry. But yeah, it's kind of funny that that's a thing. Um, but no, I got into content creation after OneHive went to the Clan War Leagues, and when we flew out to Poland, and I had just got onto the main team for OneHive, and we were we were needing a people with passports that could travel out to Poland to go to the event, and I was just like I conveniently have a passport. I know I've only been on the team for a week, but I'll go. And they're like, "All right, you're going." And I'm like, "Yes, we're going." And so I got out there and then I used all the footage and everything from that and was able to launch the channel and like people see the footage from the event and then they see me and they're like oh well it's like instant reputation that I probably didn't deserve at the time and it just kind of like I'm like I'll just fake it till I make it kind of thing, you know? And it
That's
worked out.
awesome.
It worked out. I tricked you all and you're here.
It's like, now the story's awesome. I like that. So you know what? That's a brilliant segue. So you've just talked about your experiences in Poland. Let's talk about Worlds and the online pre-qualifiers that we've got just now. So,
Hmm.
honestly, there was so much this weekend. I wasn't quite sure where to start. Um, but I think we probably need to start with QSFN. Did you catch much of it? Did you catch any of it?
Yeah, I watched it. I didn't realize that they got DQ'd. I saw QSFN win, and then I'm like, yay, QSFN won! Congratulations, QSFN! And then I look on Twitter the next day, and then I see banners up on YouTube and everything that says bad thing. And I was really, really confused. I was like, what the heck's going on? So I've been fishing around the last day or so trying to figure out what has happened. I still am a little unsure of exactly what happened, but it sounds like somebody's camera cut out, and
Yeah,
that's been the running story here of Clash Worlds so far. Every qualifier seems like one or two teams get knocked out from a camera disconnect, which I think is completely preventable. And they should have a failsafe around it. And it's really disappointing to see teams that clearly won to have something so trivial knock them out. And I think it's kind of ruins the spirit of the competition in some ways.
yeah. It's because that. So like QSFN absolutely dominated the whole weekend, didn't they? I mean, like, so
Hmm.
I did a wee prediction video and all that because after we'll talk about NY Amazing and AS Monster, but after that
Yep.
weekend, I did a wee like. I woke up, I was like, what happened? And so I
Yeah.
happened to be off, and I just spent the whole day trying to work out what happened. Um, and I predicted that Zingers and SSG would be the guys that would get there. And QSFN,
Hmm.
honestly, I feel they kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, they were. If you put AS Monster and NY Amazing in there, I think they were fifth or sixth seed QSFN, and yet
Yeah.
that last weekend they
But
absolutely dominated it.
but QSFN in general puts up a lot of stars every single time they
Yeah,
play. I feel like you remember back to the Northern Ireland Clash Championship, they ended up ranking at the very bottom, but like their overall star differentials like all the way through were almost tied. Like they like tied almost every single war all the way through the Northern Ireland Clash Championship, 17 weeks and
Yeah.
they couldn't they couldn't get the wins for whatever reason, but they were always percentage advice. Like if their opponent got 15, they seem to have got 14 or 15. If
Yeah.
their opponent got 12, they got 12. Like it was just a string of bad luck, and they just needed things to tilt their way. And this weekend it did, and then they just ran into a different. They're just one of the most unlucky teams I've ever seen. I feel like
Yeah. It's just
I
like
don't know.
so. So Nessa's saying that the QSM put a statement on Twitter about it. Yeah. So the story, from how I understand it, is that basically one of the players did an attack. The attack was finished. The player then disconnected, like not on purpose, like accidentally. Like there was a the usual sort of disconnect with the
Hmm.
camera, but they remained on voice and the game remained online as well. So and then it was able to, then within a minute was able to reconnect. So it sounds
Right.
similar to previous situations we had that with HD Family and Inquisition. It was like a very short amount of time, but I think they all
Hmm.
happened prior to. Now I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think they all happened prior to the attack taking place. Or it's the fact that this happened in the final and they'd done the whole competition up to the final, and Supercell decided to apply some sort of I don't know, like
Mercy.
mercy, yeah, some sort of like compassion to the situation. Um,
Yeah.
is this? Do you think? I,
Uh,
do you think that's
so
fair if you compare
I
it to previous situations?
I think it's ridiculous that that is a method to disqualify people.
Yeah,
I think that every single one of these people that is on camera could easily, after they're verified that they're on camera, they can connect their camera through OBS. They can literally download OBS in like 5 minutes.
yeah,
They can just add their camera as a source on OBS and then press record and virtual camera, and then they can literally record as a backup in case they have a disconnect to show that
yeah,
they didn't do anything that they weren't supposed to during a time that they were disconnected.
yeah,
And then they can immediately, if there's a problem, they can immediately stop the recording and upload that onto a Google Drive and give it to Supercell immediately so they can review it.
yeah,
And like I think it would solve 99% of all of these problems if they just had a recorded backup to just review so they could make a proper ruling instead of just blanket disqualifying people for camera disconnecting, which is absolutely insane.
yeah. And I think that was the interesting one with HT Family. I think that was June or July
Hmm.
time, and afterwards they said we had fail safes, because that was one of my major criticisms of Marcus Gaming when
Yeah,
this happened to the first team. I was like, well, look, the esports organization needs to make sure they're complying with the rules, and
yeah.
HT Family, to be fair to them, came up with a workaround. They said we
Did
offered
they
to
record
record.
themselves separately? And
They offered to work around to record everything, and they were told that it wasn't necessary, and then they disconnected and then they got disqualified, and that was in their Twitter statement, and it was just like, that's got to be the most gutting thing when, as an organization, you try to do absolutely
yeah,
everything, and like when we had alternate attacks on here, Boom was talking about this, that it's one of their major concerns about the
hmm,
finals is a disconnect. It's not about their
yeah.
play or their strategies or anything like
It
that.
doesn't
What
seem to
they are
matter.
most concerned
Yeah,
about is internet.
that's what everybody gets knocked out for. Like,
Yeah,
there's the if a quarter of the teams are knocked out from losing, another quarter of them win and get disqualified for camera disconnect.
yeah.
You know, it's
It's
like
just
what's going on here? It's absolutely ridiculous. It's so easily preventable, and it's literally they need nothing other than uh one extra piece of software that can press record and record
yeah,
the camera so they have a backup. Literally, that's it. And secondly, how long would how long are these disconnects? They're like a matter of seconds. Like,
yeah. Well,
what do they think people are doing in a matter of seconds?
we had what was it? I
Oh,
think it was Ink who disconnected mid
yeah,
attack. In fact, that might have been HD Family, but he'd literally put all his troops down.
yeah.
The attack was over. He disconnected, but like the attack was
Hmm.
done. So yeah, it's frustrating.
Yeah, no,
It's
it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, and it's something that is discouraging a lot of people. Like they're
yeah,
like, why am I going to put forth all this effort, especially if they're in an area of the world that is gonna have less good internet connections, and they're gonna be prone to a disconnect at some point. And it's like you're like, if I have to stay online for an hour or multiple hours in the case of these tournaments, like they're online for 6 hours straight. Like if a disconnect during a match is all that takes to get you to
Yeah,
disqualify, like your game's still staying connected. Like the game will ride through a little bit of a blip, but like if your camera turns off for a second, which I mean, I don't have to deal with that. I'm in the US. I don't have to. We have really, really, really strong internet connections, and I don't. Otherwise, I won't be able to stream. Like
yeah,
there's people who can just ride through it, but other people just are a little bit more prone to it, and that just basically almost eliminates them out of even a potential of qualifying.
yeah. So the knock on from this is that there's a bit of mystery around the exact. So this is what we believe, and we had to rely on QSFN given their explanation for why they were disconnected. And a similar thing happened the previous week when actually I relied on Discord conversations and people in the know and conversations with team members to tell me, to sort of put some meat on the bones of that statement that Supercell released, which is a very
Oh, it
almost
was
sort
kind
of
of
like
vague. It was very vague,
generic,
yeah.
sort of like they've
Hmm.
failed to breach it and here's the punishment. Do you think that there needs to be a little bit more sort of like, transparency on exactly what the offence is for and why the
Yeah,
penalty
I
is a
mean,
different amount?
well, like there should be it should be standardized first of all.
Yeah,
That's frustrating in its own right because then if another team that came before got the same thing happened to them and they got
yeah,
a more severe punishment, then that just kind of that's just unfair in general. Like that you can't change the rules of a tournament mid-tournament, and if you make a ruling, there should be a really good reason why you or a different set of circumstances that if you have the exact same thing happen to four different teams and you treat it in a different manner for any of them, then it's unfair for the rest.
yeah.
If you're
Uh,
more lenient one, obviously, but if it's a consistent problem and it is, then they should be making sure that there are backups to prevent that from becoming a problem. Like that, there's no reason it should have already been implemented after the very first time it ever happened. They realized, hey, this if we're gonna disqualify people, then we should have a built-in method to try to prevent this from happening
yeah,
because that has nothing to do with the gameplay. It has nothing to do with the game. It has nothing to do with the player's skill. It has nothing to do with the spirit of the competition. It's purely a technical issue, and it should be solved as such and corrected and a backup. And it's ridiculous that this is as big of a deal as it is because it shouldn't even be on the radar for people. Like it shouldn't. They should have already created fail safes for this.
yeah. It's unfortunate. It has become a bit of a meme, hasn't it? It's been a.
Yeah,
It's just
it's
it's just a
almost
bit
like
of
an
a.
embarrassment, you know?
Yeah,
It's like
it's like, oh,
uh
what team are going to get disqualified this week, this month,
hmm
and
yeah.
it's rubbish that that's the thing. That actually, what we spent a good 10-15 minutes talking about there is not about the performances of the teams. It's been
No,
about someone. It's
it's
a bit of rule
literally a
violation.
technical issue.
Yeah, it's so
It's a
frustrating.
technic it's yeah, it's a tech issue. It's like it's like come on.
So, QSFM, we've sort of sang their praises and how well they did. Do you think
Hmm.
they're from this are in a really good standing from performing in that silver ticket competition, or do you think it's just too early to say with that silver ticket situation? What do you think?
I mean, as far as silver tickets, I said it during the World Championship show the other day when we were on there talking that I think if QSFN doesn't, excuse me, if MCS doesn't qualify this next month, I think they are the front runner to
Yeah,
take the silver ticket competition there. I'd say QSFN is good. They're definitely solid. They're definitely a good team, but MCS, especially moving into this new potential meta with hybrid and hogs,
yeah,
have the players who were masters at that, and
yeah,
I think they're in the best position to take advantage of a new shift in the meta.
yeah. They are. You're right. They are the guys that are still using. Still been using hogs and
Hmm.
three-starring with them all the way through the summer,
Exactly.
and now they've got an extra level of hogs. So yeah. What about the Zingers? Impressive performance, or really good performance off them. The first team to force a second match in the final, if that makes it, coming
Yep.
from the lower bracket and coming in, and then obviously having that sort of like, getting the golden ticket in the end. But to win that first match and force that thing, that's a
Hmm.
pretty big achievement, yeah.
Yeah, it's disheartening for the team that went undefeated up into then. I've been in that situation. That happened to
Yeah,
me in
the momentum
season 2 of
shifts.
the SL Mobile Open when we went against Coastal Clash and we were on top. They came from below, and then they beat us the first match, and then the second match we had an exact tie, not a perfect war. We had an exact tie, and it came down to a time tiebreaker, and they edged us out, and they got to go on to play in the Barclay Center in New York City because of it. So and we got edged out right at the last second there. I was like after going undefeated all the way through.
Yeah.
So I'm like I know the feeling.
You
It's
know exactly the
disheartening.
pain they had, yeah.
But yeah,
um,
yeah. Then for QSFN to win it and then get DQ'd anyways, like
oh,
oh my gosh, oh my gosh, that is absolutely crazy.
what about Space Station Gaming then? Space Station Gaming, I would say, are probably definitely from like the English speaking community, the American and the
Mhm.
sort of the Western world side of things. They are kind of like the fanboys team at the moment. Tribe have kind of dropped off, and it is definitely SSG. Are
Yeah,
they
well, a lot of
struggling
the
to live up to that pressure? Do you think is that part of it, or
well, all the primary English speaking members that played for Tribe moved to
yeah,
SSG. So
exactly,
like
yeah,
when Lexnos and Nick moved from Tribe Gaming over to
yeah, exactly,
SSG, joined in with other guys that were already there. Like they bolstered that roster massively. They're both very very good players. I mean, Lexnos has been having a couple of chokes here and there, but Nick has been absolutely consistent. Probably the best player in the United States, hands down. But they have a bit of inconsistency in that team. Like they either strike hard and they win the whole thing, or they just kind of fall off. And they, it's just one person has a bad day. Then this last weekend, it was Griticus, and he
yeah,
got that 1 star, and that really really hurt. He had a backup method to take the town hall, didn't utilize it, and took risks unnecessarily, and like that's nerves getting to you, that's pressure getting to you, that's
yeah,
the heat of the competition. Like these are mistakes that these players wouldn't make in a normal war, but because the high pressure situation, you need to keep your head clear, you need to keep cool under pressure. And like they have definitely have a lot of players that can do that, but I mean you just have one player who's off one day and then it's over. And I think there are other teams that are more consistent and will perform consistently at the high level and don't get those bad days as often, and they'll outperform them. But I do love when I love watching SSG when they're hot, but
yeah.
they definitely they need to remain more consistent to be able to go all the way through to a championship.
Yeah. So I think that's the thing we've got for next month. It's the final month for, and there's some big names that just
Hmm.
aren't there yet. We've got MCS, we've got Space Station Gaming, and we've got Darkest Muzan. Obviously, we're in this month's qualifiers, but it's
Hmm.
bizarre that they are not there either. And yeah, so
Yeah, I thought Dark was going to take it. I thought they were my top pick for the month, but
were they?
not quite.
Yeah, they got the edit curse, did
Oops, I jinxed them. Oops, my bad.
So let's talk about. We'll not spend too long on this because it's kind of bizarrely it's old news, but NY Amazing and AS Monster their removal last weekend. What was your
Hmm.
take on that situation? Do you think it was? Did you? I can't remember. Did you stream that one? I fell asleep.
I
I was fast asleep. So
I streamed when they faced each other, and then I made
yeah,
a video talking about it more. Um, but I could understand the first one, the first mistake that they made
yeah.
when they attacked
At the same
while the
time,
other attack was going on, and they
yeah,
had two of their own players attacking at the same time, and it just kind of randomly went in, and then they exited out at 15%. Like the player that was attacking, is an older guy, was really 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 late to like he could have let's like legit. I've been there. You're really really late. You're playing for hours and hours and hours,
yeah,
and you kind of drift off a little bit, and you're on the wrong screen, and you hit attack, and you just panic. You
yeah,
know.
yeah,
Like I can understand that. However, but then they got to the final seeding war, and then Monster had somebody just leave mid attack after
it's
he already had the triple. Like that was
Yeah, it
Like the
was a
first
forced.
one,
It
I can
wasn't even
understand.
a.
That could be like give him a penalty. That's understandable. I mean that could be a mistake there. It's
What?
obviously a big mistake there, and it costs them the award almost no matter what, getting the
What?
0 star 15%. But you go into the next one, and you take an attack that was deliberately exited out early, and and they lose the war. They literally just they threw the war.
Yeah,
They look very, very deliberate that they threw the war there to change their seating position so that they didn't have to fight their sister clan.
yeah,
And that's that rigging and throwing a match like that. Like if you go into big esports orgs and like games that have more established esports that have like betting and stuff like that, like that's a serious offense. It's like criminal offense almost that you if it's like people are betting on it. Like obviously that's not happening in Clash of Clans that we know of, but like if you're
it's
like
channel points.
that's
That's
just
all
a
we've got.
yeah, but
Just
still like
channel points.
it's
Yeah,
channel points for us. But like you go to where the like organized betting and like legal betting and stuff like that on it, like that
yeah,
in any kind of other game or any sports event and like that, you're like that could be legal trouble. Like that's more than disqualification. That's you're probably getting sued, you know?
yeah.
So
So
like is that I think was completely out of line. And they shouldn't have done that. They shouldn't have done that. Regardless of what they thought they could get away with, because it's like we saw during the Clash Masters series that Alter Attacks did like the same thing to control their seeding going into the finals of the Clash Masters. They look like they very purposely threw a war in that one, and that was also a lead up to the World Championship, and they didn't get anything. Nothing. Nobody cared. Like there was like they're like, oh, that's shady or whatever, and that was the end of it. And nobody did anything. They had no repercussions, and then look at you, NY Monster, look at that, and they're like, oh, well, if that's acceptable, then why can't we do that too? Like, why did they
yeah,
take no repercussions in a circuit that feeds into the World Championship, and they got us completely scot free, and then we do the same thing effectively, and just to control the seating, and then they get punished severely for it.
and I think the thing for NY Amazing is that they were silver ticket holders.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like they were removed from that month. They were banned from Future, so they lost their silver ticket. And
Right.
if you talk about those two situations, the situation that NY Amazing were involved in was that first situation you were talking about being, oh, the guy was tired, and I could totally see how that could legitimately
Mm-hmm.
have happened. Whereas on the other side, you've NY Amazing in theory weren't involved in that AS Monster
Right.
attack. Do you know what I mean? And yet they lost the silver
Like
ticket.
Monster
So
could have been DQ'd completely separately, but
yeah,
it's like almost like a like NY Amazing just kind of got roped into it because they're a sister clan to it. Like they
yeah,
just kind of like they didn't technically do anything themselves other than the first one that was like questionable whether it was intentional or not, but the second one was clearly intentional.
yeah,
And like, but it's like they did the same thing.
yeah. It's difficult,
Like,
isn't it? Yeah,
why this it comes back to why is there different punishments for the same thing?
yeah.
And it's
It's
like
so
I
when
get
Boom
kind
was
of cracking down on it. Like they realize initially, like, oh, this is a problem. We should crack down on this, and they didn't do it initially, so they can't like retroactively go back and do it. But I'm like,
yeah.
but it's like, it's just little things like that that just kind of hurt the overall perception of the leagues in general. You know, it's unfortunate. It needs to be something that they talk about and they need to deal with, and they just they need to set a standard
And do you think that that'll
and
happen
hold
for
it.
next year? Do you think Clash of Clans will have, or Supercell will have learned a lot from this sort of
I
first
hope
year of
so.
doing online stuff, and they'll come back next year with like maybe more full rules? Because I remember the
I
confusion
hope
when the
next
rules
year
first
we
came
actually
out.
have. I hope next year we actually have live events. Then we don't have to worry
Yeah,
about it. Like a lot of these disconnect things and stuff like that. Like if they're live in studio and they're on camera in studio, and it's like if
yeah,
it's their
exactly.
equipment failing, then it's like, all right, well, it's no longer the player's technical issue that's causing them to disqualified. It's the studio technician and
Yeah,
like their eyes on in person. Like they have a referee sitting right there. You know.
yeah. They've not ran off and
Yeah.
through burnt
Exactly.
base or whatever it is they're worried about happening.
Right.
Happy
Right.
days. Okay, we have talked for ages. Let's talk about the update. So I wrote a whole load of questions, expecting maybe the update
Hmm.
tomorrow, possibly today, but it's landed this morning. You've had a little bit more time to play around with it, I'm assuming, being like one of the top tier Supercell
Hardly
creators.
at all.
Hardly at all.
Yeah.
So what I've said, I've got here. What are you most looking forward to? What element of the update are you most excited about? What's the most interesting bit for you?
I hopefully will see. I want to see Dragon Riders less. I think they have completely overly dominated the meta for too long, and I really, really hope this nerf knocks them back a little bit there. And like we saw some wars today going on with the Tornado Fuego, and like they were seeming to be less, but I mean we have to see it into the hands of the best to see how much of an impact it has, and if we can just see Dragon Riders every single attack, then it just kind of makes the entire meta stagnant. I don't want to see them go away because
Yeah.
I still feel like if you just nerf it into the ground, then it will hurt the overall competitive scene. But if you it's just a balance, you know, like it needs
Yeah.
to be in balance with the other attacks there. So I feel like these new levels are definitely hopefully going to bring that balance. I still think we need another level of witches. I was really, really hoping that they'd bring the level of witches because attacks like super witches are really, really struggling right now. Witches in general are almost non-existent except for
Yeah.
uh unless you do something funky, but those aren't really seen in tournament play, like those 24 witch attacks or whatever. Like those are
Yeah.
just meme attacks, but
They're kind
but
of
like
their utility at the moment is just that sort of down the edge of a
they're
Focus Smash sort of thing, isn't it? It's clearing
exactly,
out the
exactly.
trash at
Like
the side.
you take one of the most signature troops in Clash of Clans and you just have her stand on the sidelines. You know, like come on. She's
Next to the
like
Val.
especially yeah, yeah. Well, no, Valkyries are making a comeback. I'm telling you. You saw my video this morning. Like
Yeah.
Valkyries are making a comeback.
I so I put a couple I put so I do a tournament where
Hmm.
there's a part of it is an MVP prize for most creative,
Yeah.
and you get like people just throwing in Valk attacks and super giants and witches was a hit as well. So I had a wee video of that sort of stuff. But yeah, I agree. When
Yeah.
Valks, mass Valks particularly, are quite effective. I kind of called it the new hybrid. But I had 6 hogs in there, so you know that works. That's a hybrid,
Yeah.
kind of.
Falcon. Falcon
Yeah,
hogs.
exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
So is there a worry that with Yetis and bowlers and super bowlers, is there a worry that instead of seeing air spam, we're actually now moving to potentially like an even less skilled ground spam? Or are you not as concerned about that?
I would say seeing as a lot of ground spam can be countered by base building, I think no matter what you do, they can find ways to counter ground spam, and base builders can handle that, and it'll still. Then the skill of the game is in base identification,
Yeah,
seeing that it will or will not work, and choosing the appropriate strategy. But the problem was with Dragon Riders and Dragons, and all full air attacks. All you have to do is find some weakness for the heroes to go in after, and if you the traps were all built around stop the hero value, lure them into a section of the base that looks like it has good hero value, and then stop the heroes
yeah,
with whatever traps you can. And then it didn't matter what the rest of the base looked like because dragons and dragon riders and they're going to sweep it almost no matter what if you can get the hero value. And so that will hopefully damper down a little bit here because the new level of expos and stuff like that. We'll see. I don't know. The nerf was pretty minor. I don't know. I don't know. At least it'll take away some of the Inferno Dragon Dragon Rider spam. That was
yeah.
kind of ridiculous, and
I,
I would say
I,
that accounted for like 25% of all triples. You know.
yeah, I do agree. I think when streaming wars, I think we'll see a lot more variety now as people, because
Hmm.
they've got these, like we were already seeing people testing hybrid before the levels come, so levels have come along. I had an
Hmm.
interesting conversation with Kiki on stream from Clash Champs, and he was talking about
Yep.
he's building bases to defend hybrid because he
Yeah.
knows that that's going to be the strategy that people are loved at Town Hall 13. That's what they're going to try and force on any base for the first couple of weeks. So he's
Yeah.
definitely thinking about defending against hybrid. So there's potentially, if everyone starts focusing on hybrid, possibly we still see some air attacks, despite the nerfs, still doing still doing really well because the bases
Mhm.
aren't focused on the Dragon Rider spam anymore. They're focused on ground, so suddenly you get like a change of focus in the base. So we might still see some interest in
Yeah.
repetition.
There's But good base builders are going to be able to counter the air spam and the ground. Like you basically when you're building a base there, you have to you're going to look at a couple different things. First, air spam. Everybody needs to block air spam right now, and right now that means moving mines more towards the central parts of the base there, and making so that if they pass a blimp through your minefield and clear it under a ward ability that they're going to get hit in the tornado trap anyways, and they're going to get their blimp fail, right? So that's
Yeah,
the basic flow to stop an air attack right now. To stop the Queen Charge Dragon Riders, and as a result, Queen Charge Hybrid is going to be all about stopping or like putting your black mines. Like half of all defense is just where the hell do you put your black mines? Because
yeah,
and now I guess pockets of red mines too, if could take out healers if that we've seen a little bit there, especially this last weekend at the World Championship. But
yeah,
like you look at the P.E.K.K.A attacks and I guess now super bowlers and stuff like that, and they're generally going to have a predictable flow to the attack, predictable spots that people are going to come in, and so you just put those black mines or pockets of red bombs in the path of those healers, and you'll if they don't survive to the middle of the base there, then they're done. Especially with the super bowlers, because unlike P.E.K.K.A.s and stuff, they're going to be super super squishy, only at 2,000 HP compared to a P.E.K.K.A that has like 5,700. Like
yeah.
the super bowlers at 30 troop space for 2,000 HP will go down in an instant if they aren't protected and if you drop those healers. So this is a very very it's going to be a very easy attack to stop for anybody who's trying to stop it. Like those attacks are going to be so predictable for their entries that you can just set up to stop that. But like you have to choose which one you want to stop. You can't
Yeah.
stop them all. The Queen Charge path for or the Warden Walk path plus into a P.E.K.K.A Smash or a Super Bowler attack is going to be different than a Queen Charge path to set up a Dragon Rider or hybrid attack.
And the pinnacle attack is still a Lalo? Is that still, do you agree that
The
that's still the pinnacle, sort of like the sort of like best attack, sort of like the most skilled and strongest attack? But
Lalo Lalo is the biggest advantage of Lalo is that well, once again, Lalo relies on you getting the hero value. So stopping the Lalo is just the skill of the player versus what's left on the base after the heroes are done. So like the the if you stop the heroes from getting their value, then you stop the Lalo. It's the same as Dragon Riders. It's the same as a lot of these attacks here. A lot of these 2 heroes or Queen Charge attacks. You stop the heroes and you defend the attack. So
yeah,
all base building is focused around baiting the heroes to take a certain path and then trapping to stop it. And if they can do that, then they're gonna defend.
cool, awesome. Um, so I just got the text to speech came through as well. Gaz FGR, thank you very much for the subs. What would you recommend upgrading first? What's your first upgrade? What has been
For
your
the
first?
update,
Yeah,
um, obviously expos before mortars, and
yeah.
whatever mortars can do whatever they're doing. If you
Just
never
keep
upgrade
them
them,
at
fine.
Town Hall 11 level.
You
Yeah.
you look at Fed from from Spain there, who's playing for Camille. No, not I don't know who. I forget the team name. But he still has like level 7 mortars, town hall
Yeah.
7 mortars, like town hall 8 mortars, whatever they are, and like it doesn't slow him down on defense at all. Like, but it is kind of funny. As far as the offense, I mean, if you got some books and everything stacked up, then Queen Charge, Hog Miner Hybrid, telling you, get the hogs and the miners, start practicing mass hogs, start practicing hybrid. And that's obviously going to be a big part of the meta. That's a big, big, big boost right there to take an attack that was already working and then make it stronger. But the brilliance of that attack is it's so incredibly versatile. Like we saw back at Town Hall 13, it was the the number one Legend League pushing army. Like everybody was using it, and I think now that they finally have some levels, I think they will restore to their former glory, and like that'll be the attack to use. The people who can do that the best are going to be the best, but the attack is so incredibly versatile that things can go wrong and it can still recover the town hall because it's a strategy that can send the queen through the town hall or the bulk of the forces through the town hall, and it can still function just fine. It can have things go wrong and adjust really, really easily. All you gotta do is make sure the queen gets the CC, and everything else is up in the air, and you can move it however you want.
Nice, awesome. I think I think I did bowlers and yetis. Shows you the
Oops.
level of skill I'm at. I did
I mean,
bowlers,
if you're
yetis,
going for those, whatever. Everyone's
and
supposed to play with the new bowlers. Like,
yeah,
I don't blame
basically
you.
that's what it
I
was.
don't
I was
blame you.
like, I want the new bowlers. I
I'm
want to try them out, and I need something to go with them. Yetis, that'll work because that. Yeah, so yeah,
I think
I've done the
Yetis,
hogs as well, but miners are behind. Yeah, so
I think to use the super bowlers effectively, you need probably golems, the extra level of golems. I think super bowlers and golems, if you want to go that route, is going to be the best option because you get so much firepower out of those super bowlers, but you need to keep them protected. So you need healers and you need golems. And if you want to sacrifice the healers for more golems, then that's maybe an option. I don't know. We have to test that out there and see how it works there. But right now, it seems like you just need to give them the protection so they have time to fire and they can nuke out a whole section of the base, and then your heroes just clean up whatever's left after they die out.
happy days, happy days. Right, we're on to viewers' questions now. We've gone through everything. I didn't get very many on Twitter, but I'm sure we'll see some start to flow through just now. But the ones that we've got, he's in the chat and he's already asked. Ned always provides the best questions. In fact, both of these are very similar, I'll be honest with you, Eric. So Ned asks, what gives Eric the most buzz, getting a war-winning triple or getting a new PB in weightlifting? And also at the same time, JP from Bye Forever asks, why do you skip leg day? So there you go. There's very kind of similar questions.
Well, let me give a small correction to that second half there. I only skip lower leg day. Like I hit the quads, I hit the hamstrings, but geez, do I have small calves. It's embarrassing.
So skip
I gotta work on
leg
it.
day.
I gotta work on it. Well, actually, 2016, I ruptured my Achilles tendon, full tear, and I have never, it's better now, but I never trained calves as much as I did back then. And after my Achilles tendon tore, I have taken it easy. So my calves have suffered, and now you can make fun of them all you want. I invite you to.
So, but what is better then? Is it because it is the thing that you posted on Twitter? You see these insane lifts, and then you also 3-stars. So what's better?
Well, I don't get like all hyped up when I lift. I think it's like if I finish a big lift, I'm like, yeah, I'm happy with that. And I'm like, oh, I'll be happy to share it, whatever. But like if somebody's sitting there like yelling at me, like, yeah, I'm like, just dude, shut up. Yeah, I'm like, definitely the hype is real for the getting those war-winning triples. But I feel good about my weightlifting PRs, but it's not the same atmosphere. I like to yell at my wall in my office, and that's the wall is the hype.
Yeah, the wall's the hype.
The wall's the hype. Conveniently, you guys are the wall, so you're welcome. Good job, wall.
Good job, Paul. FGR's got one here. We're going back to the update again. Do we think cloning the super value would have any good value? I think I've seen a video title on that. I don't know who made it. What do you think about that? Cloning the super polar?
I don't know. I would say maybe there's some potential for.
You're only gonna
you get one
more. Yeah.
You get, like I don't know. I think the super wizards are still gonna get more value, but the super bowlers having a significant amount of health more than a super wizard could potentially like throw a rage on it and give it a little bit of time to work there, like a clone super bowler drop. maybe could clear out a big section of the base there if it has some good bounces, but like you would have to pinpoint your drop to line up the bounces to go to a key target to make it worth it. Like that's a lot of spell investment. I think if you're gonna put that kind of spell investment, you could probably get more out of a super minion drop.
Cool. Yeah, yeah. Super minions or Blizz still the way.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
if
the
you're
convenient part about super minions is if you drop it near like a town hall that's close to the CC, like you saw in I just put it into a video the other day with the super minion. Go check that video out there with the super minion and clone. That'll show you how to do that, and I talked to pretty in depth about how what advantages that is compared to like a super wizard drop. And I think those same advantages will be if you're going to invest that kind of spell support into it, then the super minions I believe will be superior. But
okay,
playtesting will prove one way or another.
yeah, and that's the thing. We're going to at every pre-qualifier we're seeing people have been holding on to new things that they're trying out, or they've not trying out for the first time, but they're showing
Hmm.
off for the first time in the pre-qualifiers.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll probably be about a month until we actually see them getting used at the highest level. These sort of different
All
things.
right.
Fjort's asking about why does Eric choose not to stream Stephanie Cup? We could probably wind that up to what what competitions do you choose? Why do you choose to stream some competitions and not others? What's going on with that?
Usually, I stream a competition based on the teams I want to watch. I figure if I am excited to watch a team, then that's going to make a more exciting video. It'll make a more exciting stream. Those are obviously like you're coming to the channel to see the top teams play, doing cool
Yeah,
stuff, right? Um, but I am also a massive fair play advocate, and that has been the the stance of OneHive forever is we will not stand for any violation of fair play in any sense, and we will maintain our reputation as such. And being involved with the history of Dr. Mujtaba and Stephanie is something that I just don't want to be associated with.
fair enough. I think that makes sense. Um, I've run out of questions, and I was expecting another question to have popped up, but there's nothing there. I had a follow up, and I can't remember what it was now. I don't think I was expecting you to just go, yeah, here's a perfect answer. I'm like, okay, cool, great, thanks. Unless we get any more questions that pop up in a second, I've held on to you for that's almost exactly an hour, Eric. So that's a good effort. Thank you so much for coming on, man. Is there? Oh, here we go. Gaz is bringing in a content creating one here. Does Eric prefer streaming or creating YouTube content? Oh, here we go. They're offline now. What do you prefer, streaming or YouTube?
I YouTube is a lot of like I mean obviously a lot of my YouTube content is pulled straight from the streams. So YouTube I stream to create the YouTube content,
Yeah,
but the stream is more than that too. Like it's the community. So like there's the engagement or whatever that makes it a lot. It's enjoyable. It's not obviously as profitable to stream. It's almost I give away almost everything that I make, uh, um, but yeah, except for a couple of whales out there who just kind of throw a billion gift of subs every day. But
I want one of
shout
those
out to you
whales.
guys. Um, but yeah, there's I would say I enjoy the streaming. The YouTube is just a result of the streaming, and if I'm making stuff outside of the if I'm making YouTube videos that are outside of a streamed war, then a lot of times it feels like it's I know that they're necessary because it building strategy guides
Yeah,
and doing all that random stuff or whatever definitely helps the community as a whole, and it's absolutely vital to the success of a channel. But it's very tedious to make and create all of that. And like you end up with hours and hours and hours of unused footage of you going over the same thing. You just didn't like how it came together, and you just have to rebuild the same. You sit there and watch the same replay 20 times in a row before you explain your way through that 3 minutes the way that you thought was significantly well
yeah,
enough to put into a video, you know? And I'm like, if I do it live, I'm like, just everything just kind of flows. I don't over perfectionize it, you know? And it just kind of flows more naturally. So I like to stream to create YouTube content because I like the live aspect of it to force me to accept mistakes that it just kind of flow through and just kind of roll through it instead of stopping and starting over every 2 seconds and ended up with a massive amount of wasted time.
That's really interesting. So that's kind of half the reason why, like, for example, this is live, because
Hmm.
I did we and Clash with Style, another Scottish YouTuber, Clash of Clans YouTuber,
Yep.
we both basically, he came up with this idea for his Alpha League, to do like a weekly show, and we recorded the intro for one because it was offline, and we were
Yep.
rubbish. Like it took about half an hour, and we got no content because we couldn't say hello. It was like impossible to say hello because you weren't live,
Yeah.
but you were talking to someone who was. It felt so weird.
Imagine
And
when
yet
you're
you
by
done.
yourself.
Yeah,
When you're by yourself and you have nobody to continue the conversation. Like if you
yeah,
stutter in the slightest or you say something even just slightly off, like you're just like, oh, start over. I guess
yeah.
the last 10 minutes of my life is just gone to nothing, and I'll just it's unrecoverable. Start back from the start. You know, it's
And the other good
horrible. It's
thing is,
horrible.
if you're
It's
live
difficult.
and you're talking and your mic's not
Hmm.
on, then Twitch tells you, like the stream tells you,
Oh yeah,
if you're
yeah.
live and if you're sort of recording for YouTube, and then at the end of it you're like, all of that was muted. Excellent, well done, awesome.
Hmm. Yep. Been there too many times.
Yeah,
Now I have a lot of fail safes around it, and it's not an issue anymore. Back when I was starting, there was many, many, many videos that I had to completely redo or just completely just throw out because
yeah,
I forgot to turn my microphone on, or there was a technical issue that made the microphone sound go wonky, and
yeah,
it's all fixed by streaming because you got a bunch of you guys telling me I'm an idiot,
yeah.
and I
We've
appreciate
got
that.
we've got Pero Briscat. Ah man, I can't. Pero. Let's just go with that.
Hmm.
Ideas for growing the esports scene of the game. I think they're doing it. It's grown pretty well.
Yeah.
What can Supercell do to improve the game further? What do you want to see them add next year? Um, more consistent
Um,
rules.
well, one of the things that obviously they need to fix the issues that they've had here, but one of the biggest things that holds a lot of major organizations out of Clash of Clans esports right now is Supercell really, really wants to stick to a completely open format. But what they need to do is create a Masters League uh for like a Masters World Championship or something. Like they need like a tiered system. Like you go look at like how like TS:GO or CS:GO or whatever is structured,
Yeah,
and they have the teams who are the very, very top, and every single one of them is in an organization. And if a team is like underperform or whatever and like falls out of the org, they're replaced. So like if you look at how they structured, like for example, the North American Clash Championship, where they
yeah,
have Division One and Division Two, where they just had to start somewhere with it, but the format of that makes so that you need to work your way out of Division Two to get into Division One. So like if they have a set teams that were consistently on top, let them have those initial spots. Let those organizations sign those teams so they know, hey, I have a guarantee. Those orgs know when they're signing these teams and they have a significant amount of money that they're putting on the line, they're like, I know that I'm going to get my advertising out of these players because
yeah,
they're guaranteed a spot in the competition to be shown in front of the main crowds. Where right now everything is it's so up in the air whether the teams make it. So like they need to first of all the qualification process should be establishing the teams, but then once they're in, the only way to then they run tournaments with those teams, and then the ones that rank in the bottom are replaced by another team that's coming up. And so
yeah,
then so then if you get in the bottom, you get knocked out, and other teams come up and take your spot. And then when the organizations see, hey, those teams are moving in and they're now locked into these spots here until they place very, very poorly, I'm going to be more willing for a long-term contract to actually get in these teams. And as soon as you put the orgs behind it, as soon as you put the money behind it, then you're going to have a lot more consistency and you'll have a bigger fan base and they can sell merch and they can do all this stuff. And that's how the
Yeah.
greater esports is born there. Like you look at the NFL and like you have 16 teams and those 16 teams are going to be in every single competition until one of them performs so poorly that they dissolve and another one steps up to take its place. It's the underperforming ones that are replaced, not just a clean slate every single time.
Yeah, and yeah, if you look at the worlds where you've got like every month we've seen different, and it's come down to
Well, it's very easy right now
that.
to like choose the ones that are going to be in the top.
Yeah,
Like run a tournament to set that up and then expand on that and build a full structure around it. And that's what they'll have to do. And Supercell's been very resistant to it because they are so determined to make it completely open for everybody to go straight from zero to hero in in one fell swoop in there and not travel their way through division and rank up and stuff like that, you know? Like it's interesting. I understand what their thought is behind it, but I think that ultimately if they want to make this a massive thing with huge funding behind it and big orgs consistently, then they need to transition to more of like what they have for the big esports like League of Legends and CS:GO.
cool. And that's possibly the issue that like Peril's talking about, is that actually Supercell, that's not necessarily what they're trying to achieve. They're trying to have esports. You can see that with like the balance of the game. They're trying to, their perception is that they, or their stance on it is that they want it that everyone can potentially 3-star. Do you know what I mean? Because of the masses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That the balance of the game should be like that. It should be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It definitely has some work to do. It definitely has some kinks to work out, and hopefully over the next couple of years they are able to figure something out, and we'll see. Only
Cool,
time
man.
will tell.
I've got one more question. I missed who it was, but someone asked, where do you see yourself in 5 years? In fact, it's right next to my head there. It's from FJR. Where do you see yourself in 5 years from now? And I think that is a perfect question to end on. So hopefully it's a positive. Otherwise,
Well,
it's not a good question to end on.
if Clash is still going strong, we'll be right here doing Clash. If Clash starts to fall out, then we just started our new YouTube channel doing Diablo 2, and we will be building that channel covering Diablo 2. Eventually, it will add in Diablo Immortal and then Diablo 4. And while we're in the hack and slash genre and the Clash of Clans and Supercell games as well, we will be aiming. The ultimate goal is if Clash Heroes is successful to move into a hybrid of Clash of Clans and Diablo and Clash Heroes and go into the hack and slash Supercell universe. So we'll see if that game is successful, but one way or another, we're going to be pushing for Blizzard. Blizzard is consistent long term. I'm comfortable moving towards that, and we'll continue doing Clash of Clans in parallel with it, and we'll see where everything goes.
That's so cool.
But, yeah.
That's an awesome answer. I've got no idea where I am in 5 years. It's like that's so yeah, that's awesome. I said that was the last question, but there's a really good one there. Clash of Boss wonders what Eric's excuse for losing to Coco and Coco Wars was. So,
it's because we let you guys play.
if we win and got, you'd win in a 1v1. That's what you're saying.
Well, yeah. Well, obviously she's like a new Tunnel 12, and
well, that needs to happen.
I'll spam some witches better, and I'll win. You know.
Coco Eric 1v1. It's happening. I'll commentate on it. There we go. Sorted.
Let's go.
Eric, thank you so much for coming on, man.